Hi, welcome back to QOTPOD. My name's Al. You know who I am. I've got two guests that have come back. Their last appearance was on February the 24th ish, which I've worked out was about 14 weeks ago. We did say, and we did a discussion of the first 6 to 9 months of this season. Now we're now at the end of the season. And I'm going to introduce Nick Bray. Hi, Nick. How you doing?
Hi, Al. Nice to see you again. Nice to talk to you.
Now, just to remember, he models himself on Dan Seaborn. He played a bit for Honiton and Exmouth Town, and he lives in the home counties. And then we've got Chris Bumble, also from the home counties. Hi, Chris. How you doing?
Great to be back. Can't believe you had us back, Al, but great to be here again.
Indeed. Well, I'm trying to butter you up because we're short of central midfielders. And if I remember last time, you claimed you were a bit like Ryan Harley, I think. So we desperately need a Ryan Harley, I think. But any chance you're going to come out of retirement?
I'm ready. I'm ready in case Gary doesn't sign anybody.
Indeed. Well, right. So let's go through a few things we're going to do. We're going to go through high level the QOTPOD Awards. There are going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them, including, and I know Nick will find this a great one. We're going to have a Women's Player of the Year as well, Nick. I know your views on women's football, but let's just keep it as it is, please. We're then going to talk about the overall season. Now, I did a bit of homework, and I actually listened back to your predictions 14 weeks ago, gentlemen. Right. We finished 14th. We scored 56. Sorry, we got 56 points. We scored 64 goals, which is pretty good. But we did concede 68. Now, can you remember how close you got, gentlemen? Bumble, do you think you did all right?
I think I said about 13th, didn't I?
We'll see. Nick, what did you think again?
I think I said 16th.
Well, I'm going to say Bumble got it absolutely spot on because he said we finished 14th.
Well, there we are.
So that the master statistician there. Well done, you. I think I was not so positive and suggested 16th or 17th. So well done. So I'm in esteemed company tonight. And I am actually hoping that you've got a few more statistics to go as well. So overall performance, okay. We're going to talk about the managers. All right. We're going to talk about the 3 managers that we had. Matt Taylor, Kevin Nicholson, and Gary Caldwell. I'm hoping that between us, we've got some stats related to their win rates. So, because that was a bit of homework for one of the gentlemen on here. And if we haven't done it, we're going to struggle. And then we're going to go through players. Now, I think we should do it in a positive way. We're going to focus in on who we're going to keep that's out of contract. And then we're going to talk about the players that are maybe not in contract that may be going. And then we'll talk about what we need. Yeah? Or what we think we need. How does that go, gentlemen? Does that work for you?
Looking forward to it, mate. Looking forward to it.
Sounds good to me, mate.
Cool. Right. Overall managerial performance. I'm hoping Bumble has got some stats for us. Is that right? Have you done some? Did you do some?
I've done some homework, mate. So I did a bit of digging, trying to work out who really was statistically our best manager. You know what they say about lies, damn lies, and statistics. But of course, our most successful manager this year was Kevin Nicholson with 2 wins out of 4 games. So obviously, you don't need to be an accountant to work out that's a 50% win ratio. So that sort of funny point in the season, wasn't it, where we scored a few, we let in a few. But it started away at Barnsley, and I think it ended with the home against Fleetwood, in between of which, of course, we lost away at Charlton and lost at home to Oxford 4-2 in both games. So that was a sort of that 4-game spell for him. So Matt Taylor had 11 games in charge. He won 4, drew 3 and lost 4. So he had a win rate of 36%.
Wow.
And since Caldwell's come in, he's had 31 games in charge, and he's won 9 of those, drawn 8 and lost 14. So his win rate is just under 30%. So I guess that's the bare statistics, but that doesn't really tell the true story, does it?
And is there any chance we could work out the points on your stats, or is that?
I think we can. So I think Taylor's haul was 15 points. Nicholson obviously 6 points for 2 wins.
Yeah.
And Caldwell 35 points.
Right. Okay.
So that's how we got to our 56 points for the season.
Cool. Thoughts, Mr. Bray, on that?
I can't say anything but Gary Caldwell's done a really good job. I think he came into a club which was on a high at the time, but hadn't established itself in any real way in League One. There was a big upheaval, obviously, in backroom management that he had to contend with, which left Rotherham with Matt Taylor. And he had to pick it up with a really tough run of fixtures coming up. First one, obviously, Derby away. And to try and affect real change in a squad which is really thin and lacks quality in certain parts of it is really difficult. So the fact that he came in not quite halfway through his season, but, absolutely a third of the way through, and was able to keep the momentum going, keep the players motivated through a period of change, and start to implement his style of football when we've got a game, sometimes 2 games a week against really decent opposition. I can only imagine how difficult that would be, and I have every admiration for him and how he's tried to put his stamp on the team in the last 8-9 months.
And you're being quite kind there, because also there's 2 incidents of note during that period as well, isn't there? There's the famous what we're going to call it, restaurant issue, shall we say, involving some of the team. And there's obviously the well-known one related to one of our highest scorers and highest assist kings, Mr. Giovanni Brown. So he's had a lot to contend with. So I sort of concur with you. Bumble, what are your thoughts?
I was looking back on this, and I remember thinking somewhere around Christmas time, I wasn't so sure about Caldwell, but then I'm not surprised looking at the stats. I look at his first 8 games. He only won 1 of those games. And, we needed the win after that. I mean, but you look back at those games, it was Derby away, it was Plymouth away, it was Peterborough home, Ipswich home, it was Sheffield Wednesday at home, it was Bolton away, it was Portsmouth home. They were tough games. And we had those couple of games between Christmas or between Christmas and New Year, and then on New Year's Day at Oxford. So Rovers away, Oxford away. Well, we picked up 2 wins on the bounce, and that was, I guess, that was crucial to get him up and running. I think he's done I'm probably more positive than Nick even. I think he's done a fabulous job. I'm hugely impressed with him. I like him. I like the way he talks. I like his honesty. I like his simplicity of his interviews. And you look at the games he's had. Like in that spell of games he's had since he's been in charge, he's pretty much played almost, 3/4 of the games have been against top half teams, if not more. And barring Barnsley away, he's played every top 7 team home and away during his 31 games. I mean, that's phenomenal. It's a really tough period. So I'm massively, kind of complimentary of what he's done, and I'm subject to his dealings in the transfer window in the summer. I'm really positive about next year. I guess we'll come on to that.
Indeed. Yeah, let's not forget either, none of those games, apart from one near the end of the season, did we look outclassed. We weren't embarrassed in any of those games against top opposition. Argyle away, I thought, was one of our best performances of the season, even though we lost. Sheffield Wednesday at home, we should have won, apart from last-minute lapse in concentration.
Yeah.
We haven't looked embarrassed, and we have been competitive in every single one of those games, apart from apart from the last away game of the season, against teams which absolutely blow us out of the water when it comes to budget on the whole. And yes, we've had a few disappointing performances. Cheltenham at home, Burton away, Oxford in the cup and in the league, but that's no different from any other League Two manager bringing the team up to League One, because we're trying to learn and change the way that we play. So, I feel really confident that we are at the right level and that we deserve to be at this level. And our performances, I think, have shown that we do belong in League One.
No, I think it's really interesting that you both say these things, because I'm going to quote one thing that was said last time we spoke, and it was Chris Bumble said, "Oh, he's a bit of a tinkerman," and I'd be interested to see. And he's nodding his head for those that are listening. Now, he did move players around. I got quite frustrated myself, I'm going to say, related to the style of play, because I'm quite a demanding, relentless person by nature, and I'll always want to see more. And I think that the players got a little bit confused for some of those early games that we've talked about. But I think it's quite clear where our style of play is now compared to under Matt Taylor, because we're playing possession football. We're playing it out from the back, 2 centre backs, so waiting to receive the ball, and we're trying to play it through the thirds. Yeah,
we'll come on to this when we talk about players, I'm sure, but the fact that we finished 14th and we're sort of slightly disappointed with the running, of course, because losing 6 out of 7 is going to be disappointing. The fact we're talking about the ability of our centre backs to play the ball well out the back shows us what a sort of passing team we're becoming. It's a completely different style of play, and I guess looking back on all this, that was him finding his feet, testing out the players, checking out their capabilities. I was trying to think where in the season, what game it was when we had that last conversation. It'd be interesting to sort of try and pinpoint that.
It was just after the Burton game.
So after that sort of 1-0 away defeat at Burton.
Yeah.
And I suppose it had actually had a decent run up to there at the start of the year. We'd beaten Rovers, Oxford, we'd drawn at home at Forest Green, we'd lost at Portsmouth, we'd won at MK Dons. I think they would lost at home to Charlton then, didn't we? And then we lost at Burton. Yeah. He just didn't feel like he was playing a settled team. Now, of course, let's be honest, he became even more of a tinkerman at the end of the season. He had to become, because he lost half his team. I mean, that team we were playing for those 6 games, it was it was a difficult watch in some respects. And as Nick says, the fact we didn't get embarrassed at places like Hillsborough with a massively makeshift strike force of, was it Keogh Coley? I mean, it's remarkable, really. Testament to what he'd done with that team, the confidence he created.
And I think it's really good that we balance it out for any manager that comes to manage Exeter City, because if you look at it at the start of the season, we played Brown in goal, right? We've played, I make it 5 goalkeepers this season. I'll see if you can get them in a minute. And we were paper thin. Let's be brutal. Jamal Blackman, I think, may have signed or was signed and then injured. We knew he was injured when he came. You've spoken about the last 5 or 6 games. I think there was a frustration there that we were paper thin. But it's funny when Sheffield Wednesday are tweeting halfway through the first half expletives because we're playing a right back as a striker. Everybody saw that. So, let's give them a bit of balance. Then we'll come on to how the club and the trust can help them a little bit more on that. So go on then. Keepers. I may have missed one, actually. All right. I can name 5. Can you go for it?
Jamal.
Yeah.
Woods.
Brown. Yeah. Woods.
Yockel.
Oh, yes. Good.
Harry Lee.
Harry Lee. Played at Derby.
So he did.
Did he play at Derby? What?
Yeah, he did play at Derby. He came on, didn't he, when Jamal got injured?
Because Jamal, I remember Jamal sort of taking out their striker. Should have been sent off for that.
Wasn't that where Harry Kite kicked him in the leg?
Yeah, I don't know. Somebody took out their striker, and the referee sort of completely missed it.
Oh, then Harry Kite took out Jamal, didn't he? Kicked him in the thigh.
So I don't think Kev Miller played. So, but that sort
I hope not.
that sort of highlights the continuity, because we all know that having a goalkeeper that's settled helps us along the way. So, excuse me, I'm coughing. Sorry about that. So, go on then, managers. I'm going to put you on the spot. If it was A to E, Matt Taylor, before he left.
On his tenure since he's joined, or just this season?
No, this season.
Oh, so hard to judge over 11 games, isn't it? But just this season, I'd give him a C.
Okay, I give him a C plus. Bumble.
I'll give it a B. Wouldn't like to be Nick's class. It's a harsh marker. I think what the thing Taylor did really importantly is he got us off to a really good start. So I think a lot of this season's success is down to Taylor's good start. And we had the confidence. It felt a bit like, in a very tangential kind of way, Leicester winning the league year. That you get off to a good start, and it gives you the confidence against big teams. And I think the fact we had a good start gave us the confidence to go to Barnsley and win games like that. So I think, much credit to him for that.
Cool. Kevin Nicholson, I'm going to give him a B minus. Difficult time.
I can't believe you've rated him higher than Matt Taylor. I mean, it's hard to rate 4 games, isn't it? I'm not even going to rate him because I don't think that's fair.
You're not going to rate? Okay,
no,
that's fine.
I don't think that's fair.
I'll take that.
I'd say more of a C for me. It felt a bit.
Okay.
It's been a bit chaotic at times.
I think I'm giving him a B because he came on QOTPOD and gave an interview. So
that's biased.
That's I may be slightly biased, but all right, Gary Colwell.
I'd definitely give him a B.
Okay.
B plus for me, just slightly higher than Taylor.
B plus. I'm gonna go a C plus. That's all I'm gonna do at this point. So we'll see. All right, and that comes back to talking about the squad. So right, so we've done the managers. Right, let's do QOTPOD Player of the Season then. So, any nominations?
I'm agreeing with the official Player of the Season. It's Pierce Sweeney for me.
Okay.
Just constantly at a 6.5, 7 out of 10, no matter how we're playing. A cool head. He has some clangers, right? But every Exeter City player will, because we're playing in League One, and that's just what happens. But he is consistently there. Some of the balls he's played through this season have been just sublime, and some of his crosses are just different level. I really liked him as captain. I think he's got a commanding presence on the pitch. I think he's got respect to the players, and to me, he really stood out as a player of the season with his attitude and the way that he conducted himself on the pitch.
Cool.
I got 3 mentions. I think Giovanni would have walked it if he had played the whole season. I think we saw how much we missed him when he didn't play, but he didn't play the whole season, so he doesn't get it. Sweeney, good, consistent, but I'm going for Sam Nombe. I really liked what he'd done this year.
I think
you look at the game. Look at the game at the weekend. He set up. The first 2 goals. I think his running and his effort when he's played has been superb. Maybe he's not played because he's been injured or he's needed a rest. I don't know. I'd like to see more of him. But I love him to bits. I hope he stays. And I think he's definitely our most important player at the moment.
Cool. Now I'm going to do notable mention. It's got to be Pierce Sweeney. Nick, you're not going to like this. And I'm actually going to agree with Bumble. So therefore, I think Sam Nombe is the player of the season, QOTPOD, which we will make sure he's aware of that in due course. So, right, goal of the season. Let's have some nominations. What stick out?
For me, it was Dimitri Mitchell's cracking shot on his wrong foot from outside the box against Accrington at home in that 5-0 win. I think that was the first goal. in front of the away end. What a strike. And it wasn't just the strike, it was the run from the left wing into midfield and then taking it on your wrong foot. I think it is absolutely goal of the season for me, from Mitchell.
Go on. Yeah, good.
For me, and maybe it's partly more context than necessarily just the quality, though. It was a great goal. Stano's first goal at Barnsley. My left bum cheek had literally just hit the sea after I'd scoffed my last prawn sandwich and exited the corporate hospitality area up at Barnsley. And it was great to see him score his first goal for us. It was probably just as enjoyable to hear the moaning northern voices around me when this pub team from the southwest put one over the mighty Barnsley. So for all those great reasons, I think I like that goal best this year.
Right. Okay. And let's go for some notable mentions. I'm going to say Stansfield away at Charlton. I thought that was good. I also Dimitri Mitchell. I'd actually forgotten about that one. That makes it really awkward because the other one was Harry Kite for me. The finish from the edge of the box when it came out. And I was going to say Harry Kite, but now you've reminded me of Dimitri Mitchell. It's got to be Dimitri Mitchell, Accrington, for me as well. Yeah, so thank you.
And notable mention for that first goal at Argyle, and I think that was a Harry Kite finish with the run from Stansfield to set it up.
Yes.
Great goal.
So Dimitri Mitchell, goal of the season. Okay. Right.
Are you going to let him know about that as well, Al?
Yeah, of course. So, this is going to be an interesting one now. So, Women's Player of the Season. Now, I'm going to caveat this by saying we need to know more, right? Because we haven't seen them play. Although I personally have seen clips of the thrashing of Portishead. But, Nick, what's your views on Women's Player of the Year?
I don't know any of the women's players. I have no interest in women's football, and I couldn't tell you. Sorry.
And it's no interest as in you just don't know rather than no interest, isn't it?
No, I wouldn't go and watch the women play. I'm just interested in the men's first team, and I have very little interest in anything else.
I know. Bumble?
I know a few of the players, but I don't know of their performances. I hear Emily Toogood's had a great season, but I'm sort of going on hearsay from other people here.
Yes, and basically you're referring to me and the goal that I saw, which was absolute quality. So I think we should hold off on it because I have reached out. I think that's the phrase you used to Manfi Sharp. I spoke to her at the weekend as I was part of the 1931 group that were doing a little photo on the pitch, and I'm going to get her to come on and give her Player of the Year, and that will be our QOTPOD Player of the Year, and we can learn a bit more as we go.
Yeah? I think she'll be a much better judge than me.
Exactly. So, Manfi, if you are listening to this, you need to come on because you've got a very important job. So, thank you. Right, Young Player of the Year, under 21, and has played at least 5 games.
It's only one winner, isn't it? It's Adam. It's Jay Stansfield. What a player. He has the raw talent which you don't see often in our level of football. His enthusiasm and spirit and belief in his challenges, in the way that he conducts himself on the pitch, in the way that he likes to get stuck into the opposition, and his confidence at such a young age is refreshing to see that he's been unleashed and given the agency to do that. I often think back to times past with young players, and we've always been a club to obviously give young players chances and opportunities, but we have kept them on leashes sometimes and not let them really show their flair. But he has been allowed to go out and absolutely do that, and he will play at the highest level, no doubt. I don't see why he wouldn't be, knocking on the England door one day, a bit like Ollie Watkins. He's got that raw talent. He's a great player.
Cool. Yeah.
Echo that. I mean, I think the thing that's really interesting about Stano is seeing his development through the season. You can really see how he's come on and how he's improved, which is a bit of a shame for ours because selfishly, he's clearly at a level now where he needs to go and be tested at a higher level next year. So can't see him coming back, unfortunately. Love it if he did. So you think he's going to be in a good championship team next year because he's improved so much throughout the season. Not just his goal scoring, but his all-round play and his contribution. There's been games towards the end of the season that he's played where we've all said he's just different gravy, and it's true. Yeah. He's definitely just come on a huge amount.
And it's interesting because when name dropping here, when Brian McDermott came up for the Accrington game, I sat next to him and I deliberately hadn't told him about any of the players. And within about 5 to 10 minutes of the game, he went, number 9, Stansfield. He said he's absolute quality. So that's good enough for me. And I think he's been a little bit of a victim of our thin squad at times. How he got back on the pitch after Fleetwood away and being injured. It was amazing. He's obviously, recovers quickly because that looked really bad. So for me, it is also Jay Stansfield. So, and I'll make sure that he's aware of that as well. Thank you, gentlemen, for that. And I'm going to put in a notable mention from what I've seen, particularly the last match of the season, of Pedro Borges. I think he could be an interesting contender next season. So he's still developing. He's 17. He had some tough games to start. He'd want to go and play Ipswich Town away as I think his second game. But he's risen. He could have crumbled after that game, I think, but he hasn't. He actually had a brilliant game, last game of the season, and he was almost man of the match for me. I know Jay got it for scoring a hat-trick.
I was saying to Chris earlier, we've got to get. I'd like to see Borges, Cox, Lee go out on loan for a season at a really decent level conference club or lower League Two club. Let's get them at a higher level than historically we've been loaning out our youngsters. Let's really test them with some decent competitive football. So I'd like to see them, all three of them, go to League Two or high conference teams.
I'm going to lay it out there. I think Pedro needs to stay, but I think he's big enough, and we'll see. But I do get your, I do get your point. So I understand. Right, players that we can keep or look to reloan or sign contracts. So I'm going to do it really quickly. I've got a list here and it's probably wrong. I think we're keeping, first of all, Amison, Diabate, Sweeney, Cox, Josh Coley, Sonny Cox, Kyle Taylor, Harry Kite, Sam Numbe, Dimitri Mitchell, Alex Hartridge and Jake Caprice are under contract.
Mm-hmm.
I believe. Does anybody disagree with that?
Which of those do you think will get bids in for, if any?
Oh, I'm going to go. I think Alex Hartridge has been given a very hard press by some. And I was talking to a Sheffield Wednesday fan after the game at Sheffield Wednesday, and one of the players he picked out was Alex Hartridge. Now, we all know that he's made the odd mistake, but I think he's played lots of games and perhaps been overplayed at times, and that's because we've had to. So I think he could be one.
Yeah, I agree. I think he's had a really hard season, not from a playing point of view. I think he's had some fantastic games. Yes, he's made mistakes, right? Like Sweeney, they'll all make mistakes. And they'll all make clangers, right? These are good League Two players stepping up a level, so they're going to make mistakes. But to me, he is one that if we can get the right people next to him and in front of him,
Yes.
And give him that confidence that he's got an out. Then he is definitely one that I don't think will be around long. Definitely one for the future. I think we might get a bid for Nombe. Wouldn't surprise me if we got a decent bid for Nombe, actually. And I don't know if we could afford to turn it down. I think that could be quite tricky if and when a club comes in for Nombe. And also, Harry, what do you think about Harry Kite? Reckon anybody would come in for him?
No. I think it's a borderline case, but I think some people have said that they don't think he'll improve much. But I actually am a believer that he's still quite young, and there's still some development to come. So quietly hopeful on that one. But the one I'm going to throw out there, I know he's injury prone at the moment, and I also like the fact that he has been rested. Is Cheick Diabate, and I think if he can come back, be fit, and have a good solid 6 months, I would be very surprised if we didn't get a bid for him.
Well, I think the back three, assuming that's what we remain playing, is an interesting combo because I sort of agree with Nick and you that Hartridge has had some difficult parts of the season, especially sort of latterly. I think some of his distribution's been poor. And he hasn't lived up to the standards he set himself during the season and at the start of the season. And Nick's also right when he says if he has the right people around him, if you assume that Ameson's going to play because Gary's made him his captain, you've then got Cheick and Pearce who are both under contract as well. I don't think the right people around Hartridge is to keep him the same back three, back four we had last year. Gary's going to have to be quite ruthless on what he does there in bringing some other people in and dropping some other players. And there's essentially 5 or 6 players then that have to go to 3 places. I don't know how he's going to do that.
We need competition. We need competition in all of those 3 defenses. Well, I've written down on my thoughts for next season 3 defenders. We need to sign 3 defenders in my mind because of the fitness of any of them could get injured. But
that depends on, do we keep Key, for example? If you class him as one of those defenders, do you keep Key?
No.
And you're right. I think that comes on to who we keep as well. And also, just to add, there was a lot of strong talk about Josh Key going, but if you listen to latest media stories, he doesn't think he's had a great season.
Well, let's go through those out of contract players. We've got Archie Collins, Josh Key, Jamal Blackman, Giovanni Brown, Jonathan Grounds, Kevin McDonald, and Gary Woods. No, Gary Woods is here with us now. Obviously, he just re-signed this week.
He just re-signed. And if you look at it, Kevin McDonald's got a contract offer. Inverted commas, Giovanni Brown has, pending whatever's happening. Yeah. Then you're getting to Jonathan Grounds, who's 35. Right. Thoughts on Jonathan?
I like him.
I don't think
I've always liked him. Yeah, he never lets us down. He's played at the highest level, and you may not have your pace in your legs, but you've got the brain, you've got the footballing brain, and that is worth a few years at left sided defender. I would offer him another contract. I like him. I think he's good cover for inevitably when we get injuries. And I would imagine he's not mega expensive. So I would definitely offer him another contract.
Disagree with Nick there. This is my thinking now. Everything Nick said is kind of right, but you can't keep the 4 contracted centre defenders and Grounds because actually you end up with the same pool of people as you had this year, and that probably has to improve if we're going to kick on next year. 68 goals conceded says to me, and we've had some stupid goals, right? And Morecambe on Saturday, another one of those. Something's got to change down at the back, and so. Whilst I do agree with Nick in terms of what he says about Grounds, and I said he never lets us down, perhaps he's one that has to go to free up some budget and space to bring in
for some real quality. Yeah,
I don't know whether you've seen the player that we've been linked at. Have you seen the? I think he's called Conor Masterson. I think he's called.
No.
He's a QPR centre back. He's about 24, I believe, who wasn't getting in the QPR team. He's been at Gillingham and been part of improving Gillingham. And apparently we're talking to him now. Don't laugh. If you look at him on anybody who's played Football Manager, will tell you if you sign him for Exeter City, he's of the right age and does quite well. I know that's absolutely irrelevant, but you know what I'm trying to say. There's the potential there.
And what about Collins and Key? Would you offer them a new contract, or would you let them go?
I mean, I think it depends on, what. It's not just about Collins and Key. So if McDonald doesn't sign, I'm more happy to keep Collins and Key in their new contracts if they're willing to stay, of course.
Yeah.
If McDonald signs, then I'm kind of less bothered about Collins, and that might be controversial. I don't know, but again, we've got to have, if we're going to be less sentimental about these players that are one of our own and actually kick on and actually compete at a slightly higher level in this league, we're going to have to be ruthless on some of this stuff. And he's shown that with Sparks, he's shown that with Jay, he's shown that with Dieng less so because he's not his long term. I just don't think you can sort of individually look at each player and say, yeah, good, keep them. It's a package, and I think if you some sign and others don't, but I prefer Key out of Collins and Key. I have to say, I just think he's more exciting.
Yeah, you're right. Depends who stays. I'd actually like to see a younger version of Kevin McDonald, because we were talking about, weren't we, about everything going through McDonald when he's on form, and he reminds me of David Noble like that. Because do you remember when David Noble was playing? Everything was about getting it to Noble for him to unlock going forward, and it reminds me of that. But I just wish he was 5 years younger.
Yeah.
Don't we all, mate? Don't we all?
yeah, don't we all? So I think we're pretty much agreed in there, roughly what's going on. And we'll talk about how we could potentially unlock getting some of them to sign. Okay, very quick fire then. In fact, no, well, let's talk about Jack Sparks. I'm going to put it out there. Absolutely gutted. I know that, a lot of people thinks he's got a ceiling. I'm going to say I think he'll do all right wherever he goes. And he may even kick on a bit. Although I understand why Gary has made the decision on him. Thoughts?
I really liked Jack Sparks. But like Chris said, we've got to not be sentimental and use an enterprise mindset and think bigger picture and think, where do we want this team to get to, right, in the next 3 to 5 years?
Yeah.
If we want to really consolidate and be playing in League One in 5 years' time and to be moving up the division, would Jack Sparks get us there? Potentially, but I think Gary's got a very set way of playing. I don't think our system suits Sparks. He's not a defender. He'd be better playing in a 4 or two banks of 3 on a left-sided attacker, I think, for a 4-3-3 formation or something like that. I don't think our system suits him. So I think it was probably the right thing to do. And I'm sure he will have a really good career in professional football. He's got some real talent. So if you ask me with my heart, I'd say I'd keep him. But having a real think about it, I don't think he's right for our team at the minute. So we probably did the right thing letting him go.
Yeah, I think you've summed up really well. Bumble, any thoughts?
Yeah, I'm less sentimental about it all. Right decision to let him go.
Okay, so we covered the emotional one. Well, we've got the other one. Jay Stansfield goes without saying we'd have him back in a heartbeat, so that one's easy sorted out. Raheem Harper, I think there was a 25th game situation, and probably end of loan. I think that works for all parties at this stage.
Yeah, I don't know what was going on there. I don't see it. I just don't see it in him. And I forget how young he is, right? Because he doesn't look that young, but I forget how young he is. So he's obviously got a lot of learning to do. But yeah, it's not for me. It's a no for me. I don't see what he brought to the party.
Okay.
Agreed. I thought, just a little shout out for the Kegs, who I thought got better as the season went on, and I thought towards the end of the season played some half decent games. He won't get in Southampton team next year, even if they're in the Championship or when they're in the Championship. He needs another loan season. He got better with us. He started to look, pretty composed in that position. I don't think he pulled any trees up, as they say, but I thought he looked much better than Harper did.
Oh yeah. I mean, Kegs for me is got a lot of work to do, and if we want to be consolidating and moving around the middle to the top of League One in the next 3 years, he's just not need the quality. Maybe he could come back in 3 or 4 years after he's been at a League Two team and and sort of learned his craft a bit more. But he's just ineffective too often for me.
I'm going to put it out there and say I think that, so depending on where Southampton finish, they're likely to come down and strip him out their squad. I think we should make a go for him. And if you're looking at 3 years' time, he'll be an absolutely different player. So Kegs has got a vote from me. And then the last one, Joe White, did good 30 minutes against Forest Green. But I'm going to help everybody arm out, as they say in Dragon's Den.
Hard to judge. Not seen much of him. Like, really hard to judge that one, isn't it? Not seen much of him at all. So
I really liked him. I thought he could have played more for us. I don't think he got a fair crack, if I'm honest.
No, he didn't.
One of my disappointments with Caldwell's tenure was him. I thought, like that ball he played at Cheltenham was just unbelievable. Like, he had some real quality about him, and I don't think he was any worse than those around him. And I think he had flashes of brilliance. I'd love to see more from him, and that they rate him really highly at Newcastle. Yeah,
no, they do. I'm only out from the basis of not his ability, but where Nick talks about where we need to be. So, and what we need to be looking at. And he's almost like a luxury player that we can't really afford at this point, I think. So, not that we're paying for him. So, I think that covers the players. So, right. Hopes for the squad build then. Who do we need? What do we need?
Lots and lots, I think. I mean, again, we're going to find out in the coming days, aren't we, about the retain list. He's got a busy season ahead of him. He's going to have to get north of the border and tap up his old contacts quite extensively. But I'm optimistic. Look, he brought some good players in during January, and I'm quite excited by what he can do in a full off season. So he needs lots. He could need a whole new front line at this rate.
Yes,
and pretty much a whole new midfield. And he needs to supplement his defenders. Oh, and he needs a goalkeeper as well. But apart from that, he doesn't need much, does he?
Yeah.
You're right. I've written down here, 3 defenders, depending on what happens with Blackman's contract at a keeper, at least a right, a left, and maybe 1 or 2 centre midfielders, depending on Kyle Taylor's road to fitness. I'm not sure how far away he'll be come August, and 2 strikers, and so that's 10 players, right? So
but I'm going to put some balance on this, right? Because I've heard lots of people go, "Oh, it's a huge clear out." Can we have a little bit of consistency on this, right? As a club, I'm going to show my age now. During the 80s, sometimes we had 6 or 7 professionals under contract at the end of the season. We've still got a lot of players under contract, right? And compared to, and I think it's a bit of how far we've come, right? Actually, we need to sign a few, but we're nowhere near what I'm going to call the crazy times. So, because if you look at it, without a quick count, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 players under contract. So,
yeah, but I like I said, if it was me, I would loan out Cox and Borges. I don't think they're anywhere near ready enough to play consistently in the first team. And then you've got your injury problems. You've got Czech, you've got Sweeney, who can never play full season. Nombe, always struggles throughout the winter to stay fit. And then you've got Caprice, who is a decent squad player, but for me, shouldn't be anywhere near your first name on a team sheet. And so looking at that, and Kyle Taylor's, got his injury problem. So to me, it's you need 10 players.
Be interesting.
Just to even be competitive.
A bit to do, I think we'll say. It's going to be interesting.
Just a bit, mate.
Right, hopes off the pitch related to the football ground. I'm going to be contentious with a couple of things, but I'll let you two go first.
Can we get the tannoy fixed in the big bank? Only been asking for 15 years. Might be nice if somebody could actually do something about it. A real reimagining of the outdoor facilities in Red Square.
Yeah.
An understanding of what the customer actually wants, I think would go down quite well. I've given my opinion, but I'm just one lone voice in the sea of 7,500 people every week. We just need something which works. I don't understand why we're allowing players to park in a car park when we could ask them to come in from the Cat and Fiddle or secure some parking elsewhere in the city centre. Let's use that for commercial revenue. Let's get a proper canopy for when it's raining before a game, so we can actually enjoy a beer. There's just not enough space there. We need to reimagine how we use that space and really try and make it work for the consumer, because I still know so many people will not drink and eat at the park because it's too busy. They will go into the city. They will drink in their local town and then come in at 2:00 or go to the con club or whatever it is, because it's not attractive. And we just need to be more. We just need a fresh vision when it comes to what we're offering our fan base before a game. I have to say, I went into the shop and it's getting better. I saw some green shoots of merchandise, so full kudos to whoever's sorted that out. And apart from that, I haven't got any other burning issues to hand.
I'm surprised, Nick, that you're complimenting the shop because you've got some green stuff in it.
Heavens.
Even if it's green sheet. I think, agree with the sort of match day experience. It's brilliant, right? We get to go to lots of away grounds, and of course we see the away end, so we don't see the full blown sort of quality of some of those grounds. But we've been to some pretty bang average places this year.
Yeah.
So-called big teams with bang average away sort of facilities, like Charlton. I mean, what an absolute crush that was on a Tuesday night. It was. There's no space whatsoever.
Burton, right?
Burton, you got your pie in the pint, but it was like you could have been in a car park, or you were in a car park. And even the so-called sort of bigger grounds, they're not amazing facilities. So what I love about Red Square is that people comment on this all the time. We're such a friendly club, and it's a great experience. So make more of it. And I think the other thing I would say is let's make better use of the asset of St James Park during the week. So I know we talked about this before, but got to be a bit more imaginative. I hope in how we do that. And maybe third point, if I can add third point, is let's make better use of the skills of our supporter base. I think there's a lot of skills out there that still go untapped and could be used better. And I know there's a sort of a sort of skills register, isn't there? But it feels to me like we don't really leverage that to the extent we should do.
Indeed. And do you know what? Both of you said some really good things. And I'm glad we put the balance on it, because, a notable away ground for me from memory was Lincoln City, where they had that, loads of options of what you could eat. There was some cool music going on. It felt nice. It felt safe for families, all that sort of stuff. They're really
Tranmere
good.
for me, Yatesy. Last season. Tranmere away. God, it was great.
I can't agree with Lincoln, actually. I can't agree with Lincoln, Yatesy, as you well know, because it was at Lincoln in about 2007 that you fell on top of me. I first met you. And you literally fell on top of me after that goal by Moxie went in off the post. Last game of the season, last kick of the game, sort of thing. It's not a safe place at all, mate.
I thought you fell on me, but there you go. Right, it's how memories change. But I'm going to put a few things out to support Nick I think we're doing some good things. I think there's a lot more to do because it does feel a crush at times, right? I'm going to say, I'm going to put it out there. The tannoy, let's not go as loud as Sheffield Wednesday away, because honestly, you couldn't hear yourself speak. And I know my father turned his hearing aid off because it was that loud. I'm going to suggest that above the refreshments hut, as you walk into the Big Bang, I think we should build on top of that, put a DJ booth in, right, and speakers, and get the Big Bang going as a party a bit early on. I think we should put soundboards in on the sides of the Big Bang so it's not so windy, but also just like Bournemouth, the noise even more goes onto the pitch. We haven't even, we've been talking for 50 minutes. We haven't even mentioned ground extension and a temporary stand at the side of the pitch, which could be done. I've done the cost benefit analysis. Happy to talk about it later. I'm going to give some positives, right? Last match of the season, I was walking through, and I know they had the families there, and they were all the kids doing that stuff. Absolutely fantastic. And I was telling somebody about that just today, and they couldn't believe it. But we had a local band called Sea Dogs, I think they were, in the spot after the game, and you could hear the music, and there was more people, I would say, around that area 25 minutes, half an hour after the match than I've ever seen before, right? Now, the other thing I'm really going to be looking at is you've mentioned what we're doing, sweating the asset and off the pitch. I would love to see how many events we've got this summer using the facilities. I know we need to protect the pitch, right? Because I think we could have beer festivals, we could have music festivals that stop at 8 o'clock at night. And to Nick's point, we need to reimagine what we're doing. And I'm going to put that out there. Thoughts? What do you think? Some of them are crazy.
I like the DJ booth. I don't see why we can't do that, especially for night games. I think that'd be awesome. Really get it rocking, especially now Foolsy's retiring, right? We're losing that voice on the pitch that we all know and love. So why not try something different? Ground development, I'm not there yet. I think we just need to concentrate on staying in League One. If we're still here in 5 years' time, and we're still getting the same sorts of crowds, then I would probably consider it. But for me, I think the next 2 seasons, we just need to put every single spare penny we have into that playing budget and give Gary Caldwell every opportunity.
But hold on, you say about that, right? I think this is where the trust needs to be a little bit more innovative, right? Because there is a reserve of money out there, right? And let's just say hypothetically, and I know you're grimacing, right? We use £500,000 of that money, right? Because I think there's a lot more than that there, right? Just imagine what you could do to put something temporary in at the side of the pit. And I think we have to seriously think about it, because we're now getting ticket hubs and people struggling to get tickets. And the last game of the season, we'd lost 6 games and we still pretty much sell out. What a lovely position to be in.
You wouldn't struggle to get a ticket if you're a trust member for 2 years. Yeah,
of course.
So maybe that should be people's motivation and putting the money into getting people to join the trust rather than anything else. That's, to me, that I just don't think we're there yet. I'm not saying it would never happen. It would never be a good idea. I don't think we're ready in 2023, 24 for any of that.
And another option, just to add in, because you made me think of something, put in a second turnstile entrance into the away end area down by the police hut, so that you can segregate it and have a smaller amount of away fans, right, in a secure environment. Yeah, and still have an area of 400 or 500 extra fans. Yeah,
because you had Morecambe the weekend saying they wanted the full allocation and they bring 680. It's a bit annoying. We could have had more fans in there. We could have had 300 more City fans in, 20 quid a go. It's good money, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. And I think we need to throw the exact. So that's hopes off the pitch. League One standing next year. I know we haven't signed any players. What are we hoping for?
Go on, Chris.
But hoping or expecting. I mean, we have to put a bit of faith in him signing some players. I am going to say, and we know my history on predicting this spot on, we'll finish 11th next year.
Wow.
I'm going to go. I'm going to go for 12th. I think.
Optimistic, Mr. Bray.
Yeah, I can see it. I can see what he's trying to do, and I think if he can get his recruitment right, I think we will have a better season this season because we've got the consistency. We've got a whole pre-season where he can work and gel and start to mold that team. And I have to say, I don't. From what I've seen of the games, and I know a couple of fans from these teams, I don't think the 3 teams coming down are going to be as strong as the 3 teams that are going up.
No. Agreed. I'm
so looking forward to points on the table. Yeah,
I'm looking forward to next season for 2 big reasons. One, I think he's going to make some exciting signings, and it's going to be a full season of him at the helm, a whole pre-season to get the team ready. And secondly, what a brilliant geography this season's got for us personally. I mean, there's so many good teams locally for us. Home and away sort of games are going to be really achievable. I can't wait for it, honestly. When the fixtures come out,
I can't. I think there'll be 2 less car services for me. I've calculated. So because it's very southern based, isn't it? It's nice.
Yeah, I'm more excited about next season than I was at this time last year.
Yeah.
Well, I suggest that closer to start of the season, when we know everybody we've signed, we'll get together and have another conversation. Right. We're almost at a close. A few things. Fixture list the 23rd of June. I know I'm going to miss the first game of the season because I'm going to be on holidays, I think. Right. I'm going to say thanks for coming on, you two. You've been brilliant again. But before we go, there's a slight issue related to a bet, I believe. Right. And we will be doing bets at the start of the season. But I think there was a bet about Sam Numbe scoring 20 goals. And
there was. And Chris, quite with a lot of confidence, said he would get to 20 this season. I said he wouldn't. It was a £20 charity bet, and I will be asking for that money to go to the Greyhound Rescue charity that I support.
Great.
I think that was discussed during the 4th and 5th goals at Ipswich. Accolade Hounds, isn't it, Nick?
Accolade Hounds, yes. Accolade Hounds. We
never had to have the debate as to whether it included just league goals or goals. So it was either 15 or 17 he got to. I do think, on a serious point, if he'd have been fit, he'd have got 20. Easily.
And that's why I didn't think he'd get to 20, because he can't stay fit all season.
I also think he might have got to 20 playing the games he played if Giovanni Brown had been around with him.
Yeah,
because those 2 had struck up a brilliant partnership. So,
lots of variables.
Lots of variables going on there. But I didn't quite make it. But next year, Quat Podders, you're hearing it here first. If Nombe's still in the team, he'll get 20 goals. Not just league goals, Nick. All goals.
All competitions. Okay. We'll see who we sign, and if he's still here, then we'll contemplate another charity bet.
I don't think it's fair to narrow you down at this point, but be sure that we're going to have some fun gentleman bets coming up for charity. And also, while we're talking about gentleman bets, if the person that has claimed that I took a bet out about 15 years is listening to this or ever listens to this, big City fan, to this day, I don't understand the bet, and hence why I've never paid out any money. But I just want to say that because I will not welsh on a bet myself. So,
and talking of charity, Alistair, can I congratulate you on all the good work you did with Brian McDermott and the former players for his mental health charity, with Mental Health Awareness Week happening next week. So well done to you for raising that money for that charity and the Adam Stansfield Foundation. Well done. That is not an easy thing to organise and execute. So well done.
And then Beery Ashford and Giles Ashman need to be part of that. And I think it was an absolute pleasure. I saw Paul Ashford at the game at the weekend, and we had a great conversation about it. And it's even more pleasing that Danny Bailey's taking a big interest in the club still. And I believe that he's had a player down on trial at the club since that, which is good. I'm not going to say who. I do know who. And also the other thing is Brian McDermott is now director of football at Hibernian, so which is great for him as well.
Absolutely.
So, you know, and thank you for mentioning that because I wasn't expecting it. I appreciate it. Gentlemen, you've been amazing. Thank you for your time. And let's keep talking over the summer.
Thanks, Al.
Here's next season. Bye, everyone.